Twisted Metal, a game that certainly helped put the PlayStation on the map and into many homes across North America. It birthed the genre that helped define an era, spawning a staple franchise and numerous knockoffs during the height of its popularity. It also holds the esteem of being the third game I ever purchased for the PlayStation. Heading home from Toys R Us, excited to see just what else this system and the dawn of 3D gaming could deliver. Buckle up, because today we take a look back at Twisted Metal. Twisted Metal was developed by Single Track and published by Sony Computer Entertainment in November of 1995, a few months after the US PlayStation launch. The same duo also developed and released Warhawk during the same time frame. Twisted Metal is a vehicular combat game with a simple premise. Drive around and blow away your competition. While we had seen racing games with weapons up to this point, I'm not aware of any that sole focused was pitting vehicles against each other in open 3D environments. First place here is the last car running. There was really nothing like it at the time. All of the action and gameplay is supported with a wide variety of vehicles and weapons on the backdrop of urban and city environments, battling it out in the Los Angeles city streets and freeways before eventually moving into downtown and onto the rooftops of the city's skyscrapers. The game features 12 playable vehicles and their drivers, introducing characters such as Mr. Grimm, Warthog, and of course, the iconic mascot of the series, Sweet Tooth. The sound effect of each character are permanently etched into my brain, and one of the things I forgot about until replaying the game. Each character offers different attributes in speed, handling, and armor, as well as a unique special weapon. This means the vehicle you choose will have a big effect on your playstyle. Fast vehicles like Crimson Fury or Mr. Grimm have the advantage of zooming across the level, but with such low armor they require precise attacks and a hit-and-run approach. Bigger vehicles like Darkseid and Hammerhead are slow, but you should seek out vehicles to smash into as they shine in close quarters combat. And spoilers, this game isn't exactly balanced well in this regard. All of these stats are provided in the car info section, which also provides you with the backstory of each driver, describing the reason for entering into the Twisted Metal competition, which brings us to the game's story. It's Christmas Eve 2005. Deep beneath the Los Angeles streets, a man named Calypso is hosting the 10th annual Twisted Metal competition. He has personally chosen a dozen competitors to do battle, with the prize being anything they desire, no matter how rare, no matter how costly, and no matter the consequences. So let's pick a character and jump into the action. I've decided to go with Warthog. He has good armor and a decent special attack, which has a homing ability. He also gives us the opportunity to ram into smaller vehicles for more damage. You'll soon see why this is so important. First up, we head to the arena, a small 1v1 battleground where you are pitted against a random opponent. This is basically a starting area that lets you get the hang of the game's combat and controls. And you will need some time to get the hang of the controls. They are pretty twitchy. Warthog isn't as difficult because of his lower speed and acceleration, but the game's overall speed will take some getting used to. It's a good idea to stock up on weapons in this first level, as it isn't especially challenging. Fire missiles always come in useful, and you can grab a bunch here in this level. So after stocked up, we'll just unload on Yellow Jacket and finish the level. Next up, we move to the Warehouse District, now against 3 other opponents. Luckily for us, there are no big vehicles to go against here. This will allow us to show off how broken crash damage is to smaller vehicles. Every level, the enemies are randomly selected, so it will change from run to run, and you'll eventually face the same opponents on different levels. This level is larger and more open, and we're going to start utilizing the tight turn button to quickly spin back around to square up enemies on attack runs. If you hold X while turning, you make a much sharper turn. You'll be doing this a lot. Although you get used to it, it's not particularly fluid. The AI of the enemies will constantly have them turning to face you too. I wish there was more actual chasing down of opponents, but I guess that would make the game pretty easy. This level also introduces the health stations, which are represented as flashing white X's on the minimap. You'll need to memorize the location of these and monitor your health at all times. Each station restores about 50% of your health. Managing your health and which station you use is a key to making your way through the game. This game is extremely difficult, and you can be zapped from full health to 0 before you know it. So after smashing through Pit Viper and surviving a close call with Mr. Grimm, we move on to the third level, the Freeway, which features 5 opponents. Once again, we lucked out with no hammerhead or dark side to face, so the ramming strategy will be put to full use again. This is easily my least favorite level. The weapons available are very underwhelming. The rear firing rocket, road spikes, and the mine are some of my least favorite in the game. It's also annoying you're in the middle of a fight and you try to cycle through your weapons to a missile or your special attack to instead land on one of those. This level also features one of the game's first secrets. If you destroy this car and stop over it, you restore to full health. There are a few more secrets like this throughout the game, and it's a really nice touch. Also of note, the civilians you see scattered throughout the game constantly fire at you and do damage. It's a good habit to run them over because they can kill you. But back to the combat. You can see just ramming into smaller vehicles does way more damage than the weapons. It's kind of broken. Once again, it comes down to a one-on-one battle with Mr. Grimm. His special weapon does a lot of damage, so you always need to watch out for that. We survive an even closer call and prepare for level 4, River Park Rumble. We're now facing 6 different enemies, which ramps up the difficulty quite a bit. Also facing Darkside and Sweet Tooth for the first time. This level is similar to the Warehouse District, but larger. You can also acquire the Power Missile on this level, which is one of the stronger weapons in the game. To talk more about the combat system, each character has a machine gun that you fire by holding R2. You have unlimited ammo for it, but if you fire for too long it overheats and you have to wait to use it again. It doesn't do a lot of damage, but every little bit helps and you'll want to be firing it in all battles. Your car also has a turbo, which is activated by holding triangle. The turbo pickups are scattered throughout all the levels and helps you dash to safety or to hunt down an enemy. It also notably removes the freeze effect from freeze missiles, so if you're frozen, hit the turbo and you're back on the move. This level also has a secret spot to restore you to full health that really comes in handy. So we track down the remaining enemies to eliminate them one by one, and finally finishing off Yellow Jacket to complete the level and move on to the 5th level, Suburbia. This is probably the most iconic level in the game and probably the most difficult. It's a giant sprawling level with 8 different enemies to take on. It's quite the meat grinder and hard to get through without losing lives. I found it important to try and only engage one enemy at a time here. Just drive away from areas with multiple vehicles. Sweet Tooth here manages to give us a taste of our own medicine by ramming us and giving us our first death. You get 3 lives per run, which isn't a lot, but I would consider it fair considering how short the game actually is, once you get good at it. Another thing to note is that the enemy characters do not fight each other. They are all gunning for you, but there are instances where they will get caught in the crossfire, like Mr. Grimm here getting taken out by Hammerhead. So we go through attempting to finish off the remaining characters, and Crimson Fury, which seems like an easy target, shows us how easy and quickly damage can chain to rapidly kill you. We get our revenge, stock up on some missiles to prepare us for the next level, and finish off Pit Viper to end the level. We're now heading to the 6th and final level of the game, Rooftop Combat. You start off facing 3 other opponents and battle it out on the rooftops of the city's skyscrapers. You need to be careful with your driving here, as you can easily drive off the edge of the buildings and will fall to your death. With a couple of the enemies out of the way, it's a good time to blow up this structure, which gives us access to the inside portion of the building, which houses some weapon pickups in the level's only health station. After eliminating the final enemy, the game announces you've made it to the final round and will now have to face last year's Twisted Metal winner, Minion. Minion is the game's final boss and is easily the most difficult. He possesses the special weapons of each character in the game, and his large size and armor make avoiding him a must. A good strategy is to stay above him and unload on him with homing missiles and your special attack. Basically any attack that has a homing ability. Next, position yourself to line up quick attacks with power and fire missiles before making a fast getaway. From there, it's basically a game of cat and mouse. One thing to note about the special weapons is they recharge over time. They are not item pickups located in the levels. So running away does buy you some time to at least get your special attacks back. So after going in circles, we are set up for a do or die battle. On my last life, with little health left. The 2 power missiles give us a chance, but it's going to be a close call. I do manage to hit with the 2 power missiles and they do massive amounts of damage, but that misfire missile right after really seals my fate. 1 hit away. It really doesn't get any closer than that. Dang it. While the game doesn't offer a built-in continue or memory card features, you are given a password at the start of each level. So after entering it, we start the level over with a full 3 lives and can easily brute force our way through the 3 enemies, and finally Minion, ending the game. So after being declared the winner of the Twisted Metal tournament, you are granted your prize. Warhog was hired by the US government to enter the tournament in order to retrieve a top secret item from an Arizona plane crash. Calypso hands him a flight recorder box from the downed aircraft. It contains evidence that the plane was shot down by an otherworldly object and proof that we are not alone in the universe. The people of the USA can sleep tight tonight, kept in the dark about things that they are not yet ready to know about. Interestingly, the game had live action video endings filmed for each character that didn't make it into the final cut of the game. Producer David Jaffe has stated that members of the development team found them too offensive, and thus they were not included. However, they were finally released as bonus material in the PlayStation 2 release of Twisted Metal Head On. It's a shame they weren't included, as they are highly weird and entertaining in a bad movie sort of way. It's certainly a better reward for completing the game than the scrolling text we ended up with.
No! Get the hell out of here!
Overall, I would say Twisted Metal hasn't aged particularly well. Graphically, the game wasn't a standout upon its initial release and is even harder on the eyes in modern times. The character balance and collision damage breaks the game and hinders it from reaching its full potential. But the game is still fun and managed to get me invested in it as I became more used to what it had to offer, and it laid the groundwork for more refined gameplay in the sequels to come. Upon its release, Twisted Metal was a commercial and critical success, eventually garnering a greatest hits release and a franchise that spawned numerous sequels across multiple generations of consoles. GameFan gave the game scores of 90 and 93. Next Generation gave the game 4 out of 5 stars. And EGM gave the game scores of 9 and 9.5, stating, "Twisted Metal is filled with mindless death and destruction. It is a perfect game to relieve frustration while blasting away computer enemies or your friend in 2-player mode." From a collecting aspect, the game was also released in a jewel case variant as well as a greatest hits, with both currently priced around $30. So that's a look back at Twisted Metal. Although it doesn't have the same impact as it once did, it laid the groundwork for better things to come and was fun to go back and revisit a game from my youth. Thanks for watching everyone, and I'll see you next time.